so much for the introduction. It's a great pleasure for me to be here. Really a very high-rarity summit. Really interesting to be here. Thanks a lot. So I started to do this in 2007. Electric cars were not really sexy or fast at that time. Most people, when you ask them at that time about electric cars, or even today when you ask them about electric cars, they don't think about something especially fancy or fast, maybe more something like this. And you know, we are based in Croatia. I'm from Croatia, and does anybody know a Croatian product?
Beaches.
Guys that are not from Croatia, okay? And so not too much, you know, especially no high-tech products or car industry. But we used to have some car industry. You won't believe it. This Yugo. Some I heard that was 25 years ago, and that wasn't even Croatia. It was Yugoslavia. Now it's Serbia. So not really good odds with combining these two to make something great. But I still had the balls to try to do it. So, yeah, that's what we do now, an electric supercar, and I'll tell you now a little bit how I came to do that. So, this was my first invention when I was 17 years old. I made my first patent. My professor sent me to local innovation and electronics competitions, then national-wide, which was crazy because I was a really bad student. To everybody's surprise, I won the first places, first locally, then nationally, and then they sent me all over the world, and I won a bunch of awards. And with the first money I made, I bought myself an old BMW because I loved cars. This was a car that was 4 years older than myself, and it didn't hold up very long. The engine blew up, and then I decided to combine my two passions. I wanted to build an electric car in my garage that was faster than gas-powered cars. I started to race against other cars on races, so it was not really successful. It was in the beginning really slow, but after each race I kept coming back to my garage and made it faster and better and improved it. And you know, in the beginning people laughed at me, and then I started to win. And then of course there were many fans that came to the races to see us. So if you can play the video, this was one interesting race against the 1,400 horsepower V8. Can you turn up the volume? So what you can hear there is only the gas-powered car, you know, and there was this old green BMW that was completely silent and was much faster than this purpose-built, you know, 1,000-something horsepower race car. Soon after that, I broke 5 FIA and Guinness Book of World Records for the fastest accelerating electric car. And I decided to make a car from scratch. So that was Frankfurt 2011 when we presented the Concept One, the world's first electric supercar. Why I did all of this, this guy over there on the right side of the picture is, some of you might know him, Nikola Tesla. He was my big hero, or he is my big hero, and he's actually born in Croatia. This is 100 miles from our factory, and the house you see, the White House here, is the very house where he was born 159 years ago. So I was always inspired by him and his invention, and we wanted to take it further. So this is the alternating current electric motor that he has invented, and we are using his principles today in our cars. I believe that this was the perfect machine to build a sports car, not just those ugly, slow, you know, electric city cars. So our motors today in our car have more than double the power-to-weight ratio than Formula One engines. So a road car has more than double the power per kilogram than a Formula One car. That's because the electric motor is so good. With each generation we try to improve power efficiency and everything else. So we keep developing the technology further and further with performance in mind. And what we do with this, if you can play the video please, we have independent control of each wheel. So we can control each wheel 100 times per second separately. And that's something you can't do with a traditional powertrain. So we have 4 independent drive systems. So we wanted to actually use the advantages that an electric motor has and create something that's completely different. Not just an electric version of a supercar, but actually the next generation of a supercar. And you have a play button. Okay, doesn't it? So we are developing these control algorithms to take the vehicle dynamics to the next stage. So maybe you can play this video. Yeah. So with the electric powertrain, which you will see now, we have one very powerful motor for each wheel, which is controlling its own motor 100 times per second. And in this way, we are directing the car exactly where we want it to. That brings better safety, better cornering, more efficiency, because we can, for example, brake one wheel while the other three are accelerating, or 90% of the time we also brake with the motors. So this is how it actually looks like in the real world driving. So you can see here the power on each wheel and how the system tries to distribute the power to keep the car stable and moving fast through the corners. So this is a 1000 horsepower electric car that anybody can drive at full speed very fast. So how did we do this? Big car companies, for example, Ford or GM, they need billions to develop a new car. And most of the time they use previously used technology from other models. BMW invested 3 billion euros in the development of the I-Series. Fisker, a startup company, invested 1.4 billion in the development of their car, and they were still 1 billion in debt when they went bankrupt. So over 2 billion. Tesla, for their first model, the Tesla Roadster, which was a Lotus Elise, so an existing car with existing technology from a company, AC Propulsion, they needed 100 million to make the first prototype. So how did we do this? We also, of course, have investors, which joined us only 1.5 years ago. Before that, it was a nightmare. In Croatia, there was not a single venture capital fund. We didn't have any support from the government. It was basically impossible to do this. We have bootstrapped a car company in a way that we have sold our know-how and our engineering services to other car companies. And that's how we survived. And that's actually our main business today. So what we do today is we have our own supercars, currently the Concept One, and we are developing new models. But our actual business is solutions. So the know-how that we have used to design our own cars, we are now selling to other industries. So the Concept One is already in production. We are selling them globally. It has 1088 horsepower, maximum speed of 325 kilometers per hour, 2.8 seconds from 0 to 100, so it's the fastest electric supercar in the world. And everything we do for this car and for everybody else that we do completely in-house. So that was our philosophy from the beginning. It was actually impossible for us to work in the usual way the car industry works. So if you look at your car, all the components are supplied by external suppliers. BMW doesn't make the lights, but the same company makes the light for BMW and for Mercedes-Benz and for everybody else. And that's the same thing with all of the systems in the car. And I knew how the car industry works, so when I started to do this, I went to those companies and I asked them for a few things, like infotainment system, navigation, things like that. And they would, give me a quotation for many millions every time I asked for something like this. So the only way for us to actually start to make a car was to develop things by ourselves. And that's the only reason why we are still alive, because we had the know-how that we could then sell to other people. So we do all of this in-house, the housings, the battery packs, the electronics, the software, all the bits and pieces that make up a car, which is an extremely complex product made up of thousands and thousands of parts. So now the technology that we have is applied to bikes, boats, to wheelchairs, race cars, hybrids, electric cars. And we design complete cars and powertrains and other things for other companies. What I'm very happy and proud about is that I have had the chance to meet my heroes and work with them. So for example, Christian from Koenigsegg, I was reading everything about this guy when I was 19 years old, and I always admired him. And now we work together, and for his newest car, the Koenigsegg Regera, which is the world's most powerful car, we built the powertrain system and the battery system for the hybrid system. And we make bikes for him. So also similar story with Mr. Monster Tajima, a racing legend. We have built a race car for him for Pikes Peak. So this was a 1,500 horsepower car we built for him, and he drove this car up the Pikes Peak mountain on his 65th birthday. Crazy guy, but amazing guy to work with. So I'm very blessed to have the chance to work with my heroes. Unfortunately, I can't meet Nikola Tesla anymore, but the other guys, yeah, now we work with them. And the technologies that we have developed for toys for rich guys, which supercars are applied in many other industries already. So, for example, we have developed a wheelchair battery that gives 10 times longer range per charge, 10 times. So it's not a 10% improvement, it's 1000% improvement. And it lasts 10 years instead of 1 year, where you have to replace the battery. So imagine how much less waste that means for the environment. And we have developed a separate brand, Grape, for high-performance electric bicycles, which are already in production. So 65 kilometers per hour, we ship them in 26 countries already. And I would just shortly like to play this video to show you how the company looks like today. So I started from a garage 6 years ago. Now we are a 120 people company.
Over 100 people which have followed us through incredible projects and generated a one-of-a-kind know-how base.
We have delivered our products to 5 continents and more than 20 countries. Our customers range from global automotive and technology companies to individual enthusiasts, from autonomous vehicles and hybrid supercars to wheelchairs and bicycles.
So that's my 120 people strong family that helps me. It was really tough to get here, really. In the first 3 years, I never had the money to make the next salary. They wanted to throw us out several times out of our facilities because we couldn't pay the rent. They shut off our electricity, the gas for heating several times because we couldn't pay. Now those times are behind us. We have raised our first round last year, and it's really going very well at the moment. But it was really hard to get here. So I'm very happy that we are here where we are, and I think the fact that we have achieved it in Croatia, where nobody has done something like this, shows that you can do this pretty much anywhere, but it's not easy. Yeah, thank you very much. Thank you. So now I think we have a few minutes for Q&A, so the guys will bring mics to anybody who has a question. Oh, by the way, I forgot to mention to the investors over here, we are just starting our B round.
Question? I have a question. How many times did you want to give up?
There was a time when I wanted to give up every day. I remember once we were in Moscow, we had a customer that promised us a project. We already, had agreed on everything, and we have invested some money to get, the projects to get the project going, and we were sure that we will get it. And we needed to invest our last money that we could have used for our next salaries to get the project, but we were sure that we will get it. And the customer was an asshole, and he, in the last moment, he decided not to do it, and I wasted my money for the salaries on that. And I was thinking, when I was going back from Moscow, how I have to tell everybody that it's over, that there's no way that we are going to continue. And then I managed, to get a little bit of money somewhere to borrow something and keep it going. But there were really bad times, and it was many times that I wanted to stop, but it's like an addiction. You can't continue. You want to go on and on. So I'm happy that I didn't stop. I think it's something you think always about, but you shouldn't make that move until really you are sure that there's no way you should continue. Everybody around me, even my parents, told me you should stop, you should give up, because the more you do it, the deeper down you go. But today everybody's happy that I didn't. So yeah. you shouldn't give up. But I also have to say we are still at our beginning, so the car industry is very specific. 120 people company is a lot for a startup, but for the car industry we are tiny. So we are still, in our early phases. So we still didn't make it completely. We have done a lot, but we have still a lot of work to do.
Okay, another question.
Actually, you're building supercars, but this is, I would like to buy one, but I'm not there yet in my investments. So I have you planned to do some other models, like something a bit more affordable, and maybe not 1,000 horsepower, maybe 500 is good enough.
We plan to go down in price, but that's relative, It's impossible to compete with the big manufacturers in terms of economies of scale, For example, BMW uses a lot of the same systems in the 1 Series and in the 7 Series, and the same suppliers and things like that. So even if we could make our batteries and powertrain systems affordable, there is no way we could get our lights and doors and windows to be even remotely the same price, So Tesla has invested already $4 billion and they are still not there in the mass market, but they want to get there. And I think they are doing an amazing job in that. We want to be the supercar of the electric cars, and we are best at doing this. And it would be, first of all, a waste of our talent to make mass-produced cars, because there are companies that do that better than us. And second, I think it's really hard to do that, or almost impossible to reach the economies of scale of the big manufacturers when you start from scratch. Especially, we already now struggle to find enough people in Croatia for the small operations that we do. If you would go big scale like that, there's no way we could do that in Croatia. Any other questions?
More questions? We have another 5
There is one
5 to
question.
7 minutes. I'll give the microphone here first.
Okay.
So you raised capital quite late, right?
Yeah, we raised in February 2014. Yeah.
If you were doing this again, would you do it earlier or later?
I wanted to do it earlier, but I couldn't find investors. I think it was actually good that we have done it this way. So maybe one thing that I have taken away from this, so I wanted to rush all the time, bring the product to the market, somebody else with more money will come and overtake us. But 7 years ago when I started, I had the same fears, and today is still nobody, has done what we have done. So I would rather go back and do my products better and get them closer to market when I present them, and then when you show them for the first time that you can ship fast. So that's what we are doing now. But I'm happy that we didn't take investment early on, because when we had the money, I think we would go in the wrong direction with the money, and this way we had time to think and rethink and prototype and go back to the drawing board, and then when the money came, we knew exactly what we had to do.
Where is that microphone?
Over there.
You said you're making supercars, which is awesome, but it looks like you're staying pretty much in a niche. So I was kind of wondering how you were going to grow, because I'm not sure if you're... yeah, sorry, I missed a couple slides.
Yeah, don't worry. I agree with you completely, but as you can see, we are in electric cars, hybrids, autonomous vehicles. That's a big deal, but I cannot talk too much about it. So we have many projects that we cannot publish that we are doing for other companies, but we are active in even naval industry. So we make powertrains for boats, we make batteries for wheelchairs and things like that. So we are using the technology, the core know-how that we have developed for our own products, and we apply them throughout different industries. So our main business is not making electric supercars. The supercar is the $1 million billboard that we show this is what we can do, what we know how to do, and you can get that technology for your product. So the main business is actually the technology.
Okay, maybe a stupid question then, because I missed a bit. Was the supercar your first ambition or your second?
Supercar was first, and that's the thing I love to do, but you have to make money, you have to make return on investment for your investors. So the technology part of the business is also fun, but it's the business.
Hey, very inspiring, thank you. For you though, as an entrepreneur, how do you stay focused? And you said you were starting off with the supercars, but you started to diversify into lots of different products? Like, how do you stay focused?
Yeah, I find that very hard. I don't have a good answer for that. I receive about 200 emails per day, and that's my, I do just that all day, and I try to talk with my guys a little bit. And I always think, next weekend I will have time to think a little bit, strategically or product-wise or innovate and things like that. But I don't know. I'm probably the bad guy to give you that advice because we are so spread out. Bikes, cars, batteries for other people, things like that. So many people tell me I should focus on one thing. I don't know. I think that the way we do it is the right way. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm right. But it's really hard to stay focused and to have time or the calmness in your head to think about the big picture because of all the because of all the daily, day-to-day things that you have to do every day. So.
One or two more questions. Here we are.
You were saying that you want to, you're having problems staying in, finding people in Croatia. Is it your goal to remain a Croatian company based in Croatia and not to outsource to companies further east in Europe or even Asia?
So first, our company policy is that we keep all the know-how and R&D and production in-house. So we are, as far as I am aware, the highest vertically integrated company in the car industry, period. So we do everything, all the engineering in-house. We have 50 engineers. And second, I wanted to do something good for our country. Our country is one of the worst performing economically in Europe. All the young people go abroad, especially the highly educated people. So I want to create high quality jobs in Croatia. I want to keep them. I want to keep those people in Croatia, and I want to make good and fun jobs that compete globally on a very competitive market. So I'm a little bit egoistic there. So I don't want to outsource, and I want to keep the company as far as I can in Croatia.
That's great. For the Focus, there's an app for that, 7Mind.
I'll try it. I have to do something.
Is that your company?
No.
No. Okay. All right. One more question, or maybe one more after that. Leo. While we take this question, could I ask us to get our next panel kind of ready, Oliver and Fabian, if they could get called, and we'll be ready to roll into the next one imminently. Who had the question? Here we are.
How do you see this transition from internal combustion engines towards the electric cars? I mean, like, just the future.
Okay, so I didn't have enough time to talk about this part of the future of transportation, what I believe, because that's a separate subject and that will take a lot of time. But let's just say that I believe the question of powertrain will not be so relevant in the future. It's much more the way we will use transport. So young generations like we care less and less about cars. I mean, I love cars, and it's hard for me to say that, but in the future, if you look at the economic, environmental impacts that our way of transportation gives, not just because of the usage of the cars, but the number of cars we need to produce. Because in US you have 500 cars per 1,000 people. In China, it's grown 10 times in the last 20 years, and they still have only 58 cars per 1,000 people. So if you want to reach European or US standards, you have to produce so many cars for which you need so many raw material, and then you still use it only 5% of the time, which all of us do who own a car. It sits 95% around. So what will change the car is the way we use it and the way we move around. It will not be something you own. You will not own your car in the future. You will have autonomous vehicles and things like that, and that will make the car more efficient. And that will make more sense to make the car electric. The way we have cars now, and we buy them, we own them, and this will be in the next 20 years relevant. And it will be a small percentage of that will be electric. But what will really change the thing is when you just use your car, you order it with your smartphone, it brings you wherever you want, you leave it, you pay for it, and it's cheaper and safer. It has many more eyes than you have, it's never tired. So
Let's call it. Okay, let's call it teleportation then, right? Because it's let's not forget that we also own the depreciation of the cars that we buy today, which is really money down the tubes. In the future, that won't be. Can I take one final question from anybody before I say thank you? Oh, here we are, right at the back over there. I need help from my crew. Pass this microphone back, please, matey.
Did you came to the Pirate Summit by car?
I came with the boat. Arr!
We want to know where you parked that fantastic set of wheels. Where is it parked? We need to check out that car. How can one experience driving one of them?
We have factory tours, so you can just send us an email and get a factory tour, and you can apply for driving to have a ride in the car as well.
I think that's awesome. Now, some of you may have been in the corporate culture session earlier on about how important things like factory tours are, how important exposing your internals externally are. So, mate, thank you very much for an awesome talk. Again, the pirates of the ship, thank you for your insights, your inspirational message, and you're a hero we hope to follow. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Big R!